Not all snowstorms are created equal, and in the United States, they usually fall into a few different main categories. First is lake effect snow, which forms when Arctic air crosses the warm Great Lakes and picks up moisture. Snow falls in narrow bands that can bury one highway while the sun is shining just a mile away. Next are nor'easters, massive coastal storms powered by strong northeast winds. They deliver heavy, wet snow mainly north and west of the storm track. Some nor'easters form offshore as Miller Type A storms, while others come from the Midwest and redevelop on the coast as Miller Type B storms. Type B storms usually move faster and spread snowfall more evenly. Then there are fast-moving Alberta Clipper systems racing in from Canada. Clippers usually drop lighter amounts of snow, but the snow is dry, fluffy, and tough to clear. Finally, the most dangerous of all is the snow squall lines. These intense bursts of snow form along strong cold fronts. They can cause whiteout conditions in minutes and lead to chain reaction crashes. So the next time snow explodes out of nowhere, it could be one of these snowstorm types producing it.